This article, titled "Two is Already Too Many," paints a really grim picture of fertility in Korea, and honestly, life in general. It says every 100 South Koreans today will have only 6 great-grandchildren between them. And that's actually optimistic. That's using 0.78 children per woman as a fertility number, and Korea has already fallen below that to 0.72. At 0.72 children per woman, 100 Koreans today would have 36 children, 13 grandchildren, and just 5 great-grandchildren. In the city of Seoul, fertility is 0.55. That suggests that fertility in South Korea could continue to fall even further. And if it fell to 0.55, then 100 Koreans would have just 2 great-grandchildren. Unless something dramatic changes, this is like an extinction level event over the next 100 years for South Korea. So why is fertility so low there? The article gives us 3 reasons. First is a big opportunity cost. There's almost no employment gap between men, 73%, and unmarried women without children, also 73%. The employment gap is driven by the fact that mothers stop working when they have kids. Only 56% of mothers work. That's the 4th lowest in the OECD. By the time a child turns 10, their mother will have seen her earnings fall by an average of 66%, considerably higher than the earnings penalty in countries including the US, 31%, UK, 44%, and Sweden, 32%. So basically, before having kids, mothers and fathers work about the same. After having kids, mothers will see a big reduction in their employment and their earnings, and that's an opportunity cost to having kids. Second, it's expensive to have a child in South Korea. South Korea is the world's most expensive place to raise a child. It costs 7.8 times the country's GDP per capita compared to just 4.1 times GDP per capita in the US. Education is one reason why it's so expensive. Almost 80% of children attend a hagwon, a type of private cram school. And South Koreans spend a lot of money on education. South Koreans spend around 1/5 of their disposable income on private tuition and education. Families in the bottom 1/5 of income earners spend an average of $350 a month on tutoring. That's as much as they spend on food. Third, Koreans aren't getting married as frequently. This plot is showing us marriage rate on the y-axis, by age on the x-axis, and the different lines are different generations or birth cohorts of Koreans. And what you can see is that each successive generation of Koreans become less and less likely to get married, such that the most recent generation is the least likely of all at their age. And this is especially relevant to Korea because only 3% of babies in South Korea are born to unmarried parents, compared to 40% in the US and 55% in Sweden. So not getting married is a much bigger deal in terms of fertility. The article explores a few reasons why marriage might be declining in South Korea. For example, it mentions that there are more men than women in South Korea at age 30. Due to sex-selective abortion, there are 115 men for every 100 women. It's like 53% men, 47% women. And that imbalance might lead to all sorts of strange things. So the narrative in the article says it might be challenging for a young man to find a girlfriend or a wife because there's more competition. And that challenges, plus the fact that you're in this really competitive education environment, those challenges might make you resentful towards women. That's the idea explored in the article. And the article gives evidence that there's a strong ideological gap between men and women, which may make it harder for them to get together and get married. And as evidence of that, it mentions the June 2025 presidential election, where the conservative candidates won 74% of men in their 20s. And only 36% of women. So there's just a big ideological difference between young men and young women in South Korea. This is a really interesting article. It goes into a lot more detail. I'd encourage you to read it if you're interested in this at all. At the beginning of my video, I said the article gave 3 reasons. That's actually not right. It gave 5 reasons total. The 2 I didn't address were also that there's a legacy of antinatalist propaganda from the government. Koreans used to have a problem with having too many kids, and their government tried to encourage them to have fewer kids, and that may have been too successful. And the other reason is that Korea has subsidies that it offers to parents with children, but those subsidies might be too small relative to the big expense. Thanks for your time.